Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to greet all our participants who are with us today via YouTube and Facebook Live for the webinar entitled Business Process Management in the Government, an insight on the implementation of BPM concepts, standards, and strategies in the public sector. I am Nicole Chavez from the DOST-ASTI, and I will be your moderator for today. Before we start, we would like to give everyone a brief overview about our institute, what we do, and some of the R&D projects we work on. So please watch this video. Again, a pleasant day to everyone. Our event today on Business Process Management, or BPM, in the government aims to provide relevant insights into the implementation of business process management, specifically in a public sector setting. It will explain the different principles, methods, and tools that will provide better process execution, experience, and monitoring. It will also discuss an underlying foundation which includes not just an improvement, but process automation. For everyone's reference, now flashed on the screen is our program for today. Now, it's time for us to get to know our first speaker. He is a supervising science research specialist from the DOST-ASTI's Research and Development Division. He is also a technology manager with more than 15 years of experience in software development with strong technical knowledge and management skills. He is also an associate professor at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines Institute of Technology. He is here today to give us an introduction and overview of the business process management in the government, together with some case studies and a discussion of initiatives and challenges. Please welcome Mr. Paul John M. Serrano.
Good day, everyone. I'm Paul Serrano, and along with my colleague Jessica, we will be discussing business process management, or commonly known as BPM, and how it can help and applied to the government. Our talk for today will focus on the implementation of BPM concepts, standards, and strategies in a public sector setting. Today's discussion will be primarily on improving the government's mandate to provide fast and efficient services to its citizens using the BPM. We will talk about some case studies, initiatives to be done, and challenges ahead by public sector agencies related to the implementation of BPM. We will also try to differentiate and relate the business process management to the concept of government process management. And lastly, we will provide some recommendations on how we can capacitate our own government in order to maximize the benefits of a BPM technology with the support of the industry and the academia. In terms of public service, every government's vision is to provide fast, reliable, and finest services to the citizens. This is why improvement and transformation of government process are very important. While fast-changing technology leads innovation, process efficiency must be the main focus in achieving the government's core objective: better process management and efficient public services. And the days are gone when citizens' patience favors the government's process inefficiencies. It is a long overdue but not a developing story of a struggle in getting a better service that every citizen deserves. The failures in the process can be easily determined when the following choices are still happening. The process is time consuming, like you have to allot at least a day just to transact with a single government agency and go back after a week to claim the results of your transaction. Requires lining up in a long queue. Without a proper queuing system, citizens are forced to wake up early in the morning to just fall in line and to avoid the cutoff on the number of clients to be served for that day. Lots of diverting steps and repetitive requirements. Example, if you're trying to get a government ID, you are required to present a valid identification, which is also issued by the government. And people always ask for a faster and easier way, and not forced to engage and patronize the culture of fixers and express services. So, how do we correct this? With the advent of technology and innovation, they paved the way for a greater exploration of the decision makers in providing the best services and solutions to the citizens. Why and how process still fail when technology and automation are already in place? It is because an executed process which produces results that may not be useful for both the management, or in this case the government, and the end users or the citizens, means that you are doing something while having nothing. Every effective and efficient process design aims to deliver something valuable at the very end with reduced resources such as budget and time. When process owners cannot determine their process contribution and performance enhancement, reassessment is highly needed to figure out which step of the process should be modified, or maybe even the whole process itself should be modified. Lack of perception on how process resemble, delivered, and improved makes a leeway for progress failures. Business process solutions are continuously explored, like adapting the concepts and practices of proper business process handling that are useful and convenient. Understanding how business process management works will promote organizational success. That is a discipline that will withstand ongoing process context changes, order, and vague recurrence. Insistence on process management concepts and skills is the starting point of delivering efficient processes that will effectively provide better service to the citizens. The streamlined process will allow the government to undertake its mission and objectives, granting the needed transparency, growth, and overall performance with less budget and time spent. Maximizing the use of technology could be a big help, but having a solid foundation, well-defined and streamlined process will complement and establish the essence of each other. While businesses and other private entities are busy with their own challenges in process handling and improvement, the public sector is constantly coping up with bulk processes. These bulk processes make up the whole structure, functions, and core objectives that must be delivered with a specific timeline, starting from the small internal office work routines up to the large frontline services being offered to the citizens. Before going further, let's define what a BPM is. By definition, business process management is a discipline which includes principles, methods, techniques, and tools to deliver business processes with the ultimate goal of improving them. Collectively, all of these factors lead to an outcome that is of value to an organization and its customers. It is a proactive approach to manage long-term challenges. Why BPM for the government? As government functions revolve around different processes, these processes make up the day-to-day cycle and transactions. But there are untrimmed processes that some may think only is a typical daily cycle, but in reality, swallowing a great value or great volume of time and value both on the government and its citizens, adding the poor experience and lack of effective process management. An inefficient process does not only define the incapability of the process itself, but the process owners as well. We know that everything is process driven, starting from the internal process up to the frontline services dedicated to the public. Process may vary from basic to complex, which require customized solutions. There are available templates, development frameworks, and tools, but needs customization in order to adapt to the different government process requirements. Since a government is divided into departments and or agencies which carry out different mandates and core responsibilities, using different templates or tools results in different output delivery. BPM technology is a predominant value in process management. Ironically, there are less use of it in the government than in business and other private entities. One of the reasons behind must be the already used to it scenario of just using spreadsheets and emails, limiting the line to be crossed for exploration and innovation. Harmonization will provide a diverse approach in helping to revamp the delivery of services to the citizens. Having homogeneous solutions will bridge the differences. This will lead in the creation of centralized and customized systems. We know that business process management is a discipline which includes principles, methods, techniques, and tools to deliver business processes with the ultimate goal of improving them. Relatively, government process management, or GPM, is a continuous improvement which shall sustain the prominence of public interest, authority, accountability, cost-effective measures, rapid government policy changes, and a lot more influences which inculcate the nitty-gritty of having a business process management being implemented on a public sector setting. Simply, GPM is the use of standard BPM principles and practices in the public sector environment. Over the years, public administration has gone through many significant changes. Although the dissemination of core responsibilities from the top government to the departments and agencies gives easier access to the general public, it also promotes differences and discrepancies in terms of process management. A holistic government approach and the citizen-centric public must complement each other to sustain the transformation. BPM can enable government agencies to better manage administrative and constituent services. By integrating operations across siloed vertical process, it can enable perpetual collaboration to meet evolving challenges and better serve the people. Transitioning and converting manual government process to automated workflows requires an exceptional process analysis and reengineering. Since the majority of the process use human intervention, the user roles must be properly gathered and included in the proposed solutions. Simplifying and cutting all the redundant steps will eliminate the wasted time and resources. Because implementing BPM solutions and technology is a complex premise, learning from the ones who have the experience is very beneficial. We take a look at some of the case studies of successful BPM implementation in the public sector. An article published by Villanova University enumerated several examples on how some government agencies around the world used BPM to improve and increase their efficiencies for public service. In Australia, for example, BPM is used to make a parliamentary workflow that disentangles communication between workers in the government. By lessening the time and effort it takes to contact a fellow lawmaker, energies are refocused on their legislative work and citizen interaction. This allows the government to work more effectively. A study conducted by Abdul Latif and Tariq Rahim Sumro, which focused on the analysis and implementation status of BPM in a local government entity in Fujairah, United Arab Emirates, highlighted the reason why BPM is a great asset to an office. To portray the importance of BPM implementation and its benefits to the organization, one process was automated. After redesigning, optimizing, and implementing the process, it enhances the process, eliminates an intermediary step, and improves better management. The future work will include the implementation of other departments and their process using BPM in the organization and utilizing the full functionality of the BPM tool already procured. Also, the statistics of this process can be used as a benchmark for other local offices. A paper authored by Thomas R. Golage Jr. and Rainier A. Summer address the benefits of public sector process management and incentives in the implementation of business process management methodologies. The primary benefit of business process management in the public sector is the increased effectiveness and efficiency achieved from restructuring the organization along cross-functional process. For example, by managing process, the U.S. Department of Defense can better integrate warfighting perspectives and priorities with resource management. In the private sector, this is equivalent to the increased focus on managerial accounting through activity-based management. Many new Department of Defense management initiatives require process management, and it is impossible to implement process management concepts under the old industrial age management models. BPM tools, practices, and technology are excellent elements in any organization to carry out and integrate various functions and processes. However, the BPM itself will be meaningless without taking the necessary initiatives to support the implementation. The drive to push improvement must take a lot of effort from BPM practitioners. Some of the initiatives needed for a successful BPM implementation are as follows. A clear roadmap and direction should be transparent and discussed on the time ahead of the planned implementation. With every improvement comes a precise plan and timeline. Trust and active involvement of top management. The involvement of the management is very important in the implementation. They should be able to listen and accept every idea that can help to enhance their process. Having trust in the capabilities of all the employees will build a good atmosphere, resolve urgent issues, thus will result in better process improvement. Definition of process that are worth automating. During process analysis, this is the key idea and first step on achieving process improvement. While all process needs improvement, not all fits for automation. Complete insight in the operations will help in determining whether the process is worth automating or not. Training for employees should be provided and must always be included in the process improvement. Full knowledge on how to use BPM software is needed so that they can perform efficiently. And then choosing the right BPM software that suits the specifications and requirements of the organization is very critical. Investing in a workflow tool is never an easy decision. This is the reason why decision makers should review and check the tool features before getting the right software. Every organization who seeks improvement and progress to their business process must face and address the different challenges and difficulties during implementation, transition, and adaptation to new strategic process management techniques. Here are some of the challenges in BPM implementation illustrated in a study conducted by Villanova University. One of the greatest challenges is to determine what exactly the organization wants the BPM to do. An unclear start and finish will lead to project failures. To avoid this kind of difficulties, management needs to fully understand their status before beginning any project. Defining the goal from the beginning will lead the management on the right path of success. Key performance indicators, or KPIs, are the metrics used to evaluate business improvement success. These are the markers which help the business performance kept on the right track. Management has to be careful and ensure that the defined KPIs are aligned to the business goals. Lack of support often leads to negative results in any projects. Successful implementations basically include some top-down control. The motivating force from the process owners brings successful outcomes and ensures that everything runs smoothly as expected. In order to value BPM projects, proper documentation must be implemented. Every success and failure must be recorded to support continuous process improvement. This will also help the management to conclude and measure the success that will be used for the succeeding BPM projects. Before implementing a BPM project, it is important to fully understand its purpose and essence. Some think that BPM is just merely a useful tool or technology that can result to be dormant and obsolete. The misconception of its essential purpose will lead to misuse and failed process design or execution. It should always be about change and improvement, as it is a discipline rather than just a subject matter or technology. Proving the worth of using BPM must start from small benefits to huge achievements. It is a gradual process of reminding the management of the capabilities that drove benefits from time to time. It is imperative to maintain open communication with management and help the organization see the true value of BPM. And lastly, applying changes to one's process doesn't happen overnight. It is a continuous cycle of enhancements and discoveries along the way. BPM users shall take into consideration that process mapping and process improvement must be done together. Focusing on just mapping the process without ensuring that improving comes with it will only produce automated as-is processes and not streamlined process with value in the end. I will now turn you over to my colleague Jessica to talk about capacity and capability building on the BPM.
Thank you, Sir Paul. I'm sure our guests here today really appreciated what was presented just now, as these processes and initiatives really do fit every sector's uniqueness, which we're sure will be useful in applying a long-term approach to business process needs. Our second speaker is a senior science research specialist, also from the DOST-ASTI's Research and Development Division. She is currently involved in conducting business process reviews to capture requirements and the current work setup, conceptualizing, designing, and developing business process models and notations, or BPMNs, and leading and participating in the design, development, and implementation of the business process management strategies, among many others. She is here today to give a presentation on capacity building on BPM and a demo on sample processes. Please welcome Ms. Jessica F. Pasos.
Thank you, Sir Paul. Okay, so just to have a quick recap, we have learned about the general vision of the government, the relation and importance of technology and process management. Why is there a need of BPM in the public sector? We also tackled the different case studies as well as the initiatives and challenges along the BPM implementation. While all of these things are critical and relevant to BPM, the question is, are all of these are enough to have a BPM success? The answer is no. The knowledge and ability alone is not enough to deliver what is required. Any organization, especially the public sector, that plans to perform the BPM must know its competence. That's why capacity and capability building is a must. So, what are these capacity and capability building on BPM all about? We have here three examples. Number one, assessment of skills. Number two, availability of resources. And number three, industry and academic support. So let's know more about this capacity and capability building. Let's start with the assessment of skills. This is critical on BPM success because in everything we do, basic skills are definitely required. In case of process management, the basic skill would be the process modeling. But attention to other areas will address the needed prowess to BPM success. For example, on a paper published by Gartner, critical skills are identified in three different categories. These categories are a mix of transformational, operational, and technical skills. So let's check these three different critical skills that needs to be assessed. So number one is the transformational skills. This ensures successful change management. What does it mean? As we all know, change is inevitable, be it simple or major project or organizational change. Somehow, at some point, change may happen. But when you can manage change effectively, you could always carry your organization into a business as usual state. We have here five examples under transformational skills, starting off with building BPM business case and vision. BPM initiatives succeeds or fails because of a business case and an unclear vision. It is important from the start to define how things will be done, how they can be done better, and what would be the business gain in the end. Following the business case and vision is the project management. Regardless of the industry, whether it's a private entity or the government, project management skill is on top because process handling and improvement cannot be done overnight. A skilled project manager shall oversee the overall progress. Third one is the knowledge of organizational structure and culture. Knowledge about the structure and culture will help the smooth transition of any BPM initiatives. Next on the line is communication. This is a given because, as we all know, communication is everything. It bridges the indifferences, it combines all ideas, and this will help a lot for process improvement. Because processes are often cross-functional, communication must be performed well. The last transformational skill is the organizational change techniques. Individuals must be adept to change so that everyone can be encouraged to continue to champion the process change despite of all the challenges. So that completes the transformational skills. Let's check the second one, which is the operational skills. This helps identify problems and improve performance. Leading the list is the business process discovery. So this is where the processes are defined, the processes to be streamlined, automated, and improved. This is a crucial step in BPM because the definition of the problem is the first and vital part of any BPM implementation. Following the process discovery, we have the process modeling, analysis, and design. The right context must be depicted into a model with clear boundaries. Designing also requires analytical skills to be able to improve the processes as well as its performance. Third is the process governance and process policy management. Most of the time, the unstable process policies hinders the successful process improvement. That's why before any BPM implementation, processes must be managed and governed with criticality. Even though BPM can easily adopt the change, it is more advisable to start with the right foot. The fourth one is the process performance management. Process improvement goes beyond just automation. In performing the BPM, the automated processes is not yet the end of the story because constant monitoring must be put in place in order to find or to spot the unexpected gray areas and bottlenecks. This will help the management to enhance the processes along the way by setting up different KPIs or key performance indicators and dashboards. The last part of operational skills is the constructing of a BPM methodology toolbox. The BPM knowledge area is sometimes broad and confusing. That's why new entrants to BPM find it hard to distinguish the right methodology to be adopted. One tip could be is to just use the methods you preferred or maybe you already know and just start building your own toolbox. The methodology toolbox just have to contain 4 different areas. Number 1 is the technique or the strategy of your organization on how the business processes will be defined. Example is the requirements analysis. Second one is the frameworks or the models to be used for the modeling. Example for this one is the BPMN or the business process modeling notation. The third part of toolbox is the methods. You can use Six Sigma or any other methods that will fit the needs of your organization. And the last part of toolbox is of course the tools, because in any implementation of BPM, you would have to use some tools or software to support the automation. Well, there are many BPM tools that are available to be used, but one good example is the Process Maker. It is a BPM workflow solution that focuses on digital process automation and platform. And that concludes the operational skills. Let's move on to the technical. So technical skills are for building and evolving solutions to support the process improvement. It also has 5 examples. First, the solution architecture and design. This may include the BPM life cycle, as we have discussed on the earlier part of the presentation, and also the created process maps. Next is the BPM technology product knowledge. As what I have told earlier, in any BPM implementation, you have to use some kind of tools and software to support the automation. That's why in choosing the effective solution or software, nowadays when a lot of vendors are offering integrated solutions, understanding what the software can do and how it can best integrate all your processes plays a vital key in choosing the right software. The third is the AMDAD, or the Agile and Model-Driven Application Development. As the name suggests, this is a kind of approach where you will have to do a little bit of modeling and a lot of coding. This theory tackles that it is good to do the model first before you do the coding and iterating back when you need to. So it's a combination of the Agile methodology and the model-driven application development. The fourth one is the business process optimization and simulation. Process improvement is more than just automation. Skills in optimization and simulation will give the processes a clear value and improvement. And the last one for technical skills is the user experience design. Branding, design, usability, and function are some of the aspects of good user experience, thus making the BPM implementation more appealing and useful to end users. So there you have it. Those are the different critical skills that must be assessed as the first capacity and capability rating on BPM. So let's proceed with the second one. Okay, so it's the availability of resources. This capacity and capability building is an urgent matter. Why? Because resources should be acquired in order to fully support the business process improvement in any kind of implementation, especially the BPM. Without resources, everything will fail because resources plays a vital role in the implementation. So what are the different examples of resources? So let's get it one by one. First and main resources is the time. BPM revolves with different phases. Enough time must be allotted so that there will be no missed out activities, because managing huge implementations requires a lot of time to develop. The second and third one is the expertise and talent. This is from the individuals who are knowledgeable enough to carry out the needed task. There are two types of process expertise and talent. The first one is the process owner, which is the brain. They are the ones who are knowledgeable with the organizational structure and culture, as well as the end-to-end processes and requirements. The second one is a group of skilled technical BPM individuals that can translate and facilitate the process improvement and automation. Adding to the resources is the roadmap or the timeline. Roadmap or timeline gives a different perspective, direction, and an eye to every step of activities so that the goals can be easily measured from time to time. And last one, but definitely not the least, because I think this is one of the most important part of resources, is the fund. All of the above general resources will be useless if not supported by fund, as well as the different activities on the BPM. Okay, so that was too fast. We are done with the second capacity and capability building. Moving on, let's proceed with the third and last one, industry and academic support. So what is industry and academic support. Successful BPM implementation doesn't depend solely on the good capabilities of a software and a business model. The commitment, the readiness, and the acceptance to change of all the individuals in the organization are highly needed. Everyone must fully grasp and share the BPM ideas. It is important to have a prevalent support in order to succeed and to have the process improvement needed. So there you have it. Those are the different capacity and capability buildings that must be performed on BPM. So for our conclusion, the key takeaway of this webinar would be the following. We started on defining what is the general vision of the government up to the different capacity that must be performed by the government. Because providing better public service must be inherent. The government process management and the business process management techniques and strategies must be realized and be implemented. The implementation of BPM concepts guides the performances of day-to-day processes. It also gives tools and help to better process execution, experience, and monitoring. Over the years, the public administration has gone through many significant changes, but applying and utilizing the concept and tools of business process management as well as the government process management, these changes can be easily adopted and managed, thus resulting to the fundamental key, the achieving of the operational excellence, transparency, commitment, monitoring, experience, and a more compassionate public sector. So that is our conclusion. And to wrap up this webinar, we're going to show you some sample process that was made through the use of BPM. Unfortunately, we only have a limited amount of time, so we cannot provide you the full-blown demo of an end-to-end process creation, development, execution, and monitoring. But we're going to show you some processes, which is an actual processes that was developed through the use of BPM, so that you can have a better idea on what process modeling looks like. On the early part of our presentation, we have identified the BPM as well as the BPM life cycle, which consists of the process design, modeling, execution, monitoring, and optimization. In process modeling, the usual output is a process map. So what is a process map? So let's check. This is an actual process map that was created through the use of BPM software. By the way, this is made through the use of Process Maker. It is a BPM workflow solution that is used for designing processes, developing processes, monitoring processes, executing processes, and a whole lot more. The software has a lot of good capabilities and features for BPM implementation. I cannot discuss the wholeness of the software because I only have a limited amount of time. If you want to explore more about the tool, you can just visit their website at www.processmaker.com. They have their own guides and wikis for your possible questions and explorations. So going back to our example, as you can see on your screens, this is a process map. In case you are not familiar of the elements of a process map, this is like a swimming pool. The pool is the container of the whole process, and there are lanes. The lanes are the borders of each users. The lanes has the different tasks intended to be performed by the respective users. The flow of the process is from top to bottom. So in our example, there are 5 lanes. So there are 5 users. The first user is the project proponent. Next is the division chief, followed by the planning officer and the techer, and the last is the director. This process is all about the submission of project proposals, and the review of project proposals up to the approval of the project proposal. So, at the first glance, you might think that this is just a plain image that can be printed and can be used for presentation purposes, but actually, this is an executable process, meaning to say this process can be run, this process is executable. How does it happen? You might be thinking, how? How does it run? So this process contains different elements. By the way, this is the BPMN. The used modeling notation for this one is guided with the BPMN, or the business process modeling notation. We have here the different notation. This one is the top start, the green one. It indicates the trigger of the start of the process. And these rectangular shapes are the tasks or the actions that needs to be performed by the users. Of course, there are the lines which connects the steps and the tasks. There are decision-making gateways. There are also script tasks, which contains codes and conditions. And there are also email notifications. This process map was designed through the use of process maker features. The process developer can code inside these steps and put all the necessary conditions, put all the web forms, create the output documents or the documents to be generated, as well as the different codes and conditions and a whole lot more. This process is an example of a complex process. And designing your process would be difficult at first, but one tip could be is just to define first your processes, understand your processes, and once you have your manual processes, you just have to analyze the wholeness of the process, distinguish the redundancies, duplicates, the possible repetitive requirements, because there are a lot of instances that the manual processes might have redundancies. There must be a step that can be removed or can be merged with another step. So process modeling just goes beyond just plotting your models into automated ones, because after all, BPM is all about improving your processes, not just automating it. Okay, so this is the first example. The next one is this one. So this is a more straightforward process than the first one. Basically, this is a process for project monitoring reports where the users can just fill up the form, and after submission, the data will be automatically saved and the report will be automatically generated. All the submitted reports are saved on the database and can be used for future reference and reports. The next example is this one, the project completion process. So after the successful submission and approval of the project proposal, and after the submission of all the monitoring reports for the project, and when the time has come that the project has ended, this is the process for the completion. So the user just have to fill up the terminal report and submit it. The planning officer will be automatically notified with the submission and must review the submitted report. They can reject and request for another modification, or they can approve and proceed with the end of the process. There's a lot more to be discussed about process modeling, but one tip could be is just to define first your processes, collect all your business processes, and determine all the bottlenecks with that manual processes before actually creating that into a model. Because when you just plot the as-is processes on the automated softwares, it's just like doing something while doing nothing. You will not gain anything in the end if you're not going to improve your processes. Let us always remember that business process management aims to have your processes an efficient process in the end. Let us remember that BPM is not just about automation. It is about empowering your processes, improving your processes, and it is always about gaining a value in the end. So that's it. Thank you for joining our webinar. We hope that you learned a lot from this topic, and we want you to explore more about the BPM because it is a good topic and it's a good practice, especially in the public sector. And if you have questions, just message us or email us, and we will be gladly helping you with anything about BPM. So again, thank you for joining our webinar, and we hope to see you again in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Jessica. And that wraps up our very short but informative program for today. We'd also like to thank everyone who engaged with us today, sent us their questions, and shared this live stream on Facebook and YouTube. For any additional questions you may want to ask about this project, please message us through DOST-ASTI's official social media pages or through our communications unit, and anyone from the team will try to answer them. And that ends our webinar on BPM in the government. On behalf of the DOST-ASTI, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. We'll catch you again for more webinars this week as we celebrate the National Science and Technology Week. This has been Nicole Chavez, your moderator for today's event. Stay safe and healthy, and have a great week ahead.